Asteroid of fear.
Welcome to another episode of the Men of the House podcast. And on today's episode, we have Rudi Garcia, who is a fitness and mindset coach. He's joining us today all the way from Australia. Is that right?
The town down under, Sydney, Australia.
Thank you for taking your time out to do this, since we're on opposite sides of the country in different time zones. But I want to start off by giving the listeners a little bit of your background and kind of what led you to want to become a fitness and mindset coach. How did you get into this?
So how big of a background do we want to get to? Childhood and everything, or just
Yeah,
the research?
let's go for it. Childhood, because I'm
Yeah.
assuming there's got to be some events in there that led to this. So yeah, let's definitely get into that.
No, definitely. I haven't really spoken too much about my childhood. I've had a fair bit of an upbringing.
Hmm.
So my mum's Greek, dad was Italian. I was born in South America in Colombia. We lived there for a few years. So we're pretty much traveling the whole continent. And I came into the picture and everything.
Hmm.
Long story short, dad was a painter. They used to just live peacefully. They traveled the world, that's the continent, whatnot. But pretty much whatever money that came in with the business, the painting business, they used it to just explore and just keep living a simple life. Long story short, a few things happened. We had to leave South America. Parents split up. I was 4 years old at the time. We went to Greece, Athens, Greece, because I'm half Greek. That's where my mum's side's from. We lived there till about 9, 10 years old. And then obviously the whole Greek economy went really down. And because mum was originally born in Australia, right? She's full Greek, but was born in Australia. We had to come down to Australia and just start fresh. I didn't speak a word of English when I came here when I was 10 years old. Didn't speak a word of English. And about 12 years later, I graduated with a university degree, which I'm sure we'll get to in a little bit. But obviously years of just growing up in an athletic household. My granddad was a professional soccer player. I played sport my whole life. And just one day I just decided to just get into the gym, get into the training, because I didn't really like how I looked and how I felt about myself. I was really skinny. I always struggled putting on weight. The gym literally just transformed my life, how I looked, how I felt, and everything. There's nothing better than going to the gym, fighting all the negativity off, and coming out that place a different person. And that's what I do for other people now. But I'm sure we'll get to that throughout the
Yeah.
podcast.
So do you have any siblings or anyone that kind of had some inspiration, anybody that went before you or any teammates since you played sports that kind of gave you some guidance along the way when it was time to get into the weight room?
Nothing really, no. I'm a sole child, just me and my mum, really, my whole life. I've got cousins and whatnot, but I'm the oldest sibling, and pretty much just me.
You said you were naturally skinny, had trouble putting on weight, and you started getting into the gym. And at what point did you start noticing a little progress, and kind of how did that progress kind of pump you up and get you to say and make up that mind of like, hey, this is what I want to do for a living?
Well, it was a little bit of back and forth. So I started at the gym really young when I was probably 15 through
Hmm.
high school. Never really got too into it because obviously at that age, you don't have any idea
Right.
what you're doing. You're going in there, you're thinking you're doing something, nothing's working, nutrition's all out of whack. You don't know what you're doing. So you kind of just do it, you give up. And then down the track, I ended up actually gaining a little bit of weight, a little bit of fat. Ended up losing that fat, not through training, just through, I suppose, the party lifestyle. I went really big into the
Yeah.
party life. I was a party animal, all that stuff, long time ago now. I lost all the weight the bad way. And then I just started going into more fitness. I actually invested into my own online coach. I just decided enough's enough. I was training consistently, didn't have the physique I wanted, didn't look the way I wanted. So I looked online and I saw my online coach, who I still have to this day. He had the physique I wanted. He had the confidence I wanted. He had everything that I wanted, the man that I wanted to be. So I invested into him as an online coach. And months later, I literally transformed my whole outlook on coaching and who I was as a person. And once you actually start to see your own transformation, like I always talk to my clients about it and everyone on social media, the mental transformation precedes external outcome. You need to cultivate personal development, internal work before you can actually get the outside result to come to fruition. It's all a mental game. You got to already see yourself as that person. You got to cultivate that 10.0 version of you internally and in your mindset before that outside result comes to pass. Because a lot of people have an amazing transformation, right? Might lose some weight and whatnot, but they don't see themselves as that person. They see themselves as that older, fatter, worse version of them, and that's who they embody. So to go back to their old ways, their old habits and whatnot, because they haven't had the mental transformation. So once you begin with the end in mind and cultivate that person mentally, everything else just becomes easier. You got to align yourself to that person.
So how did this is kind of one of these topics I think a lot about. I've heard this story or a saying from a coach who's like, hey, even Michael Phelps has a coach. Some of your best athletes, top UFC fighters, boxers, they all have coaches. And, I think when people embark on a weight loss journey or they're starting a business, whatever the case may be, sometimes there's this hesitation to reach out to a professional, to a coach. So I kind of want to get into your psyche of, outside of the person you found that had what you wanted, what sparked and got you to actually pull the trigger on getting a coach? Because you went to university, so that means you're smart enough to figure out some stuff on your own and do some research. And I believe a lot of people are. But there is so much information that it can be overwhelming, and some people don't know where to start. And maybe that's why they don't quite get the results versus going to a coach who can dial you in. But what caused you to pull that trigger, and did you have any reservations, and kind of what reservations did you have? Because I want to address this for anyone who's listening who's considered hiring a coach but just hasn't pulled the trigger on it.
Yeah, definitely. So you even mentioned there's too much information out there. So it's not an information issue, it's an application issue. Like once you actually decide to invest into a coach and you have that money investment, that holds you accountable to a higher level for you to actually pursue with that thing that you want to do. Because the money investment is a big thing. If you do something for free or whatever, you're not going to have as much incentive to actually pursue that thing. But putting money into a coach, investing into a program, right? It actually holds you accountable and you actually know you have to get through and follow through with the thing that you committed to in the first place. But a lot of it's down to ego. A lot of people, even myself included at the time, I'm like, no, I'll figure it out on my own. But after years, months of not getting anywhere, you kind of got to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, all right, something's got to change, because if nothing changes, I'm not going to change. Yeah, because obviously the definition of insanity is trying the
Yeah.
same thing continually and expecting a different outcome. It's not going to fucking happen. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that have the results that all these people want. They just invest a small portion, because all these people that have all the results invested a whole lifetime of personal development, of training, of trials and tribulations, of failures, of mistakes to actually learn the things that they have now. You just invest into a program, simple blueprint that they give you every day, daily habits, training, nutrition, everything, right? Like I structure
Mhm.
everyone's training, nutrition, everything, right? For them to just follow through on the daily and commit to that. And within weeks, months, they've already got that transformation. But a lot of it is mindset and actually putting your ego aside, realizing that there's better ways to do things. And you just need to have a growth mindset, really. Yeah.
So, in mentioning mindset several times now, what shaped your mindset? Where did that come from? And kind of how did it evolve? Because we've heard a little bit of where you started. And so, kind of where did it come from? How was it shaped? And how did it evolve once you kind of got on the program?
I believe mindset's a big thing, as I mentioned. And honestly, I'm a firm believer that hardship, difficult times brings a man to his true potential, to who he's always been meant to be. So you never really know yourself until you've really been through it and until you've hit rock bottom and your whole life around you has completely changed and shattered in a matter of weeks or even months, right? Something you never even thought possible has happened to you. And you're left questioning yourself and your own existence. You don't really know yourself until then, because you can't control what happens to you, but you can control what you do about it and how you perceive it, right? That's why mindset needs to come in, because your mindset can take you from rock bottom to the top of the fucking world if you believe, and if you keep persevering day in, day out, no matter what's thrown your way. Yeah, so we're only ever as good as our mindset, as a way of thinking, and as our daily habits, as well as the systems and processes we choose to operate in on the daily. Because the most common thing in the world, I see this way too often, is a consistent man. A guy that goes in the gym day in, day out, a consistent man. He shows up, but he has zero results because he doesn't have the right systems and processes and the right application, the right habits. So you can show up daily and not be guaranteed anything. That's why a coach, again, a mentor, can guide you the proper way to do things. So you can either pay for it now, short term, with a money investment, or you'll be paying for it down the track with lost time, with no results. Because you can always make more money, right? But you never get your time back. And how you look and feel about yourself is so fucking important.
Very true. I always say that you can definitely make more money, but you never get time back. And I think that's kind of one of those important things of, like you said, if you don't put in the time now, you're going to put in the money later. Because, I come from a healthcare background and managing healthcare and with insurance and all that kind of stuff. A majority, our insurance is high because they rely on the younger, healthy people to foot all the expenditures of the older people who, some people are naturally going to have health problems just due to aging, but there are so many diseases and health problems and people we see in the hospital and your clinics, utilizing resources that are merely just results of poor choices, whether it be diabetes, overweight, and then everything that's kind of just associated with it, because as well as I do, whether it be mental, spiritual, physical, if any one of those three can get out of a line, then all of a sudden you're off to a problem. But, I think that mental and spiritual both play into your physical, because when the mental and the mindset kind of go down, then all of a sudden you start neglecting everything. And the next thing you know, you're missing gym days and neglecting your health. On with a chronic problem. What was your rock bottom?
Or it was my really rock bottom. Well, I had a few instances in my life where like things didn't go my way, and I'll get into, I wouldn't say go my way, that's just a soft way of saying it. I was really going through it, but there were a handful of instances throughout my whole life that I really saw as like a turning point.
Hmm.
Right, one of them would have been when I had to move continents probably twice when I was a kid. From South America, 4 years old, to Greece when I was 10 years old. Settled in with the Greek kids and everything, built a community, built friends, and then bang, pack up shop, came to Australia, just like that. And I did a lot of moving around in Sydney as well, but I believe what really shaped my mindset in some of my worst moments. I'll get into that, but I don't think we're ever defined as I said before, as what happens to us, but what we do about it. One
Right.
of my lowest moments was, as crazy as it sounds, would have been a girl breaking my heart when I was younger,
Hmm.
and I thought it was. And then that started a be really big transformation for me physically, mentally. And it took years of self work and trying to find who I really am inside. So that was actually the last time I've ever been in a relationship. So it was what year was it? 2019, 5 years ago now. I've still been single to this day because I've been just instead of trying to find a partner, because I was always, let's say, maybe insecure, looking for
Hmm.
something external to validate myself inside. But what I realize is you shouldn't need to look for any external validation. You should validate yourself by the person you are, or most importantly, the person you're becoming. I always tell my clients and everyone, never view yourself as who you are at this exact moment. View yourself as the 10.0 version you can become. I always view people as who they can become, not who they are in this instant. But it took years of working on myself to find that out. Even me to this day, 5 years of personal development, of putting everything into me to level myself up. Yeah, instead of trying to chase a partner or find a partner or find something external to validate me inside, I'm doing everything I can to elevate myself and my worth so I can attract a like-minded partner.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm doing everything I can in my power to become a powerful man, to be an influential man, to help as many people as I can around me to be the best version of themselves. And as a result, I'll attract a like-minded partner. What I look for in a woman is independent, powerful, strong, all those things. And that was one of the probably key factors in my life that really changed my life around, really. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's that abnormal because, mine kind of came from a layoff and losing a job. But, when you spend 12 years in healthcare and you help people, it becomes a little bit of your identity. And, there's no more identity than yourself in a relationship. And that rejection kind of tears down that identity. And I'm sure, just like I did, you have to reevaluate, you mull around a little bit, lick your wounds, and then you figure out, hey, what am I going to do about it? And kind of move forward.
One of my biggest fears was always spending my whole 20s being in a relationship and losing my own identity in that other person.
Hmm.
And let's say all your 20s, you're with that person that's the one. And you get to late 20s, right? And you're still with them, you think you're going to get married, you're building a whole future, you're already manifesting that future together. And then one day they just walk out. And that's the last 10 years of your whole life gone, just like that. Like that for me, it's unbearable. That's something that would be one of the scariest things to really happen.
Yeah. And, it's interesting that you say that because my layoff journey, which I would describe as a breakup, because one of the ways I began to get over that was to, let's say, forgive the company that laid me off and then start to be thankful for some of the skills and whatnot that it gave me and that taught me and the people I ran into. And it's funny, the further my journey goes, especially kind of with self-improvement and self-discovery and learning about myself, it was just 2 days ago, I'm editing an episode and I realized like I had this goal to go from manager to director. Well, and I was like, I never made director. And when I sat there and I thought about it as I'm editing, I'm like, I probably never made director because if I'd gone further, if I'd gotten more money and became more comfortable than when this layoff happened, more than likely I'd be back looking for that comfort. And I wouldn't have necessarily branched out and started a podcast and maybe done something I really wanted to do and something I was more passionate about and been stuck going to a job that I really didn't like, all because I was more comfortable. And so I think, it's one of those things that you have to keep into perspective that, these events happen, and as you come along, you're going to learn and go, okay, yeah, some of it maybe I do consider it a waste. But now when I look back and go, what did that teach me? I realize, it was really all for the best of me. But that kind of leads me into what all have you, especially since 2019, what have you given up to become the person that you are today?
I've given up the old me. As cliche as that sounds, the old person, my old life, my old environment. For you to change, you need to change yourself first. You need to change your environment, the people around you. Right? Because nothing will change if you're in the exact same position your whole life. Right? And a lot of people go through that same thing where they want to change, they want to improve themselves, but they're stuck in their old circle, their own environment, their old group of friends and whatnot. Right. And a lot of people that will most slowly transition a person will have in the personal development journey is going from their old them, right, and then transitioning into the new them and into the new circle of friends, right, that want to see them do well, that are also big on personal development. That's the most lonely transition anyone can have. Right. And a lot of people tend to, as they start the transition, to go back to their old circle, into their old ways. But the best thing you can do is just keep going. It's not going to be easy, but just keep going. And I want to also iterate the power of social media. These day and age, 2024, social media has a huge advantage you can take away from. Right? Depends what you're scrolling. A lot of things on Instagram that you see these days might just be bullshit in a lot of
Yep.
ways of time. But I do believe a big majority of it is personal development, motivation, and also a big community as well. Guys, if you're feeling lost or whatever, pick a coach and just invest into them and their community, because you'll be shown other like-minded people like you at probably the same level of journey as yourself that you can chat to. Whatever. Like I don't know if you know Wes Watson. He's my business mentor. He's really big over there in the States and whatnot. I'm invested into him for my whole coaching, my personal brand, whatnot. 6 months ago, 6 months later, I managed to quit my job. I'll get into all that. I'm doing coaching full time now. But one of his students as well from USA, right? That's the power of networking. He came to Australia literally last week, and he messaged me, and we ended up traveling to another state just on the weekend. That's the power of social media, connecting with like-minded people from across the world. He came to Australia, we were connected. We're like, yeah, let's catch up. 2 days, we went up to Queensland, which is in a different state. I'm in Sydney, New South
Mhm.
Wales. So we went over there, got up, networked, made content, collaborated. The power of social media is so good if you use it the right way.
Yeah, I agree with that too, because can't stress the importance enough of curating your social media feed into positive things. There's so much positive information, whether it be quotes, coaches, and other people. And I'm not talking about looking at somebody who may look a certain way and that's kind of the turnoff, but it's really about the motivation, the community, and the message. And I think, if you're going to scroll, instead of scrolling through bullshit, if you can scroll, even if it's a positive affirmation, then you're going to be way better off and possibly have gotten something because, your world is everything you consume, not just your food, but your social media, what you listen to, who you listen to, and
And
whatnot.
big on quotes as well. Like that's seeing just a quote,
Yep.
even I've got the book right here. Meditations, Marcus Aurelius. I'm big on personal development reading. That was one of the books that I read that literally changed my whole outlook on the world. It's that Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius was in the Roman Empire, and back then, I think it was 300, 200 BC. They were really big on perception, on nothing external can harm you, unless you let it. It's all down to your perception, right? Controlling what you can, controlling your mindset. Right? The two things we can control: our thoughts and our actions. Everything else is not in our circle of influence. So we shouldn't let things we can't control influence us in any way, especially in a negative way. So never let things outside of your power, outside of your control, influence your internal state and how you feel about yourself. That's very important. That's very powerful.
I had a
Yeah.
question here from one of the profile things that it asked why mentorship was important, but then it said what was more important, the how or the who. What does that refer to?
So the how or the who, that's a good question, mate. So it's not how you're gonna do something in life. It's not how you're literally gonna do it. It's a person who can do that thing. So by every single person trying to build their best self into that 10.0 version of them, as a result, they'll be able to fulfill things they never even thought being possible. Because you don't try to do things, things come to you, right? You shouldn't try. It's not the how, it's the person who can do it. Right? By being the best you can literally do anything you never even thought being possible because as you keep leveling up, as you keep elevating yourself in your standards and your daily process, that your current daily structure, right, as you keep elevating to the next level and the next level, will just keep lifting you up into a better person of you and you'll be able to tackle more on, right? Because a level of success in life will never exceed a level of personal development. So the better person you are, as a result, you'll live a better life. And you'll be able to do things, as I said before, never thought possible.
What are some of your daily non-negotiables?
Daily non-negotiables. So I think no negotiables are the biggest thing in terms of habits and how you can literally change your whole life because a non-negotiable is what it stands for. You don't negotiate, right? When you have a set of rules that you abide to every single day, like waking up on time, training on time, eating a certain way, and conducting yourself a certain way, those are non-negotiable. So you might wake up in the morning, you try to negotiate out of that wake up, out of that thing. That's a big loss. You already started that day on the loss. If you can get up on time like you said you would, you get up on a win. 4 in the morning for me, 4:14. You wake up, win. Get up, hydrate, win. Go to the gym, train, win. Come 6 in the morning, you've already got like 3 wins under your belt, and you're already that person with the confidence that you know you'll tackle anything you put your mind to. The daily habits are so crucial, especially your non-negotiables that you do every day, because it's gonna be a time where you don't want to do that thing, and you
Mm-hmm.
might start talk yourself out of it. But that is exactly when you need to pull yourself up and be like, nah, I'm not gonna pull out. I've set this in place because I know I need the discipline. It all comes down to discipline, being disciplined. On the days you don't want to do it, you still do it. And your self-talk through the process itself, because your self-talk is very important. Because if you can talk to yourself through difficult things, through difficult times like training, getting up early, jumping in the ice bath every morning when I don't want to, your self-talk in those times of hardship, of adversity, when things suck, is everything because you've got to talk to yourself like you are it, that nothing can ever touch you. Because when you come out of that shitty period and you actually feel good, you'll be even better because your self-talk depicted the person you are.
How
Yeah.
do you coach some of your clients regarding non-negotiables? Because let's say I'm gonna come to you for coaching and I'm at a mediocre fitness level, but I want to get better. And I'm gonna start trying some non-negotiables. More than likely, I'm gonna fail here and there. I'm gonna miss a day. I might miss a hydration, a workout. How do you coach your clients through that? What advice do you give them? And is there any grace in there to go, hey, it's not going to be perfect in the beginning, but the goal is to build momentum into that perfection? What's your take on that?
Yeah, so as you said, it's all about momentum. And I'm also a realist. I'll sit down with a client. I just onboarded them. I have a chat to see how their day is, how their structure is, how many times they can even train a day. And then we just start with the basics. We start with, let's say, 3 times a week. Wait, 3 times a week. On our off day, I just go for a walk. I just build them a daily habits, daily non-negotiables that they can actually follow to start with and they can actually hit every day. So once they actually start doing that consistently, they're like, hell yeah, like I don't miss. Like I feel really good. I feel unstoppable. What's next, coach? Like I want to do more. I want to do more. Then they actually make that incentive to actually take on more and more and more. So I set them. I try not to kill the fella. Like as you mentioned, you might come in with a medium level of fitness. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to throw the whole at him and try and make him feel like he's not worth anything. I coach them like, this is what we start with. Let's build some momentum. Let's get this shit after a few weeks. Let's hype it up. Let me know what you want to do and let's run it. Like, let's go. Because momentum is very important. Once you build good momentum and consistency, you literally feel like you got the world at your feet and you can do anything. So I always say work with good momentum, never miss, and just keep building and building and building, because the better you become, yeah, the more you can take on, and that new level that you never even thought possible becomes a new standard of daily living. You know, you keep getting better, that new standard elevates and elevates, and you keep being able to do more and more and more. It's all down to personal development. But Rome wasn't built in a day. It takes time, it takes discipline, and you just got to roll with the momentum, eh?
How do
Yeah.
you personally deal with, let's say, setbacks? Because you get that momentum, something happens, maybe you catch the flu for a week, or you get a training injury. If you train every day, that impacts you mentally when you get an injury and you can't go to the gym. How do you personally deal with setbacks like that mentally?
Yes. Setbacks are just a part of life, literally. And I always tell my clients and everyone, like, the comeback is bigger than the setback. Can't control what happens. You can't control what you do about it. So you might have a temporary setback, right? It's called a setback. It's not a failure. It's only going to be a failure if you let it quit, and if you define yourself as a person you are during the setback. I always tell people, never ever define yourself at your lowest. Always define yourself as that person you are mentally at your peak. You always got to view yourself and conduct yourself like you are at your peak every single time. So when you finish training, everything's good. The sun's out, guns out. You're feeling good. You're feeling jacked. Like, you're feeling confident. Define yourself as that peak level, mental and physical, every single time. And when you're feeling low, when you have a temporary setback, right? Temporary, it's just temporary. Just define yourself as that person. Make sure your self-talk is good, and just roll through it with consistency. And just know that it's a temporary defeat. It's not a failure. It's only going to be a failure if you let it define you and if you stay down. Fall
I like
forward,
that.
hit it. Always fall forward. That's what I say.
So, what did you study in university? And, because I want to know how the university and what you're doing now, because you had mentioned something about potentially moving into full-time coaching.
Yeah, so I did actually did civil engineering. Did a 5-year degree. So engineering is it's probably one of the most difficult courses you can take at university. You've got like your lawyer, your doctorate, your sciences, and then engineering is definitely up there in that kind of upper level of university. I did that for 5 years. I did my honors degree, so I did my thesis and everything.
Wow.
And then years into my career, so I started my professional career February 2022. And I actually got my own online coach end of 2022, which is when I started my personal development journey. I always knew fitness passion was a calling of mine. I liked how I was in the gym. I always thought the best part of my day was during the gym. No matter what happened, the best part of my day was in the gym. And that calling became bigger and bigger as the time went on. And in 2023, I was actually thinking of quitting my job, going out on a leg, and trying to become a personal trainer. That didn't happen. I ended up staying with the job, but end of last year, end of 2023, I hired my mentor, Wes Watson, to help my online brand, to help grow my Instagram page, and for me to become a coach. Even though I didn't think I was ready at the time,
Uh-huh.
look, I'm never going to be fully ready. Sometimes you just got to jump, take that first step, and through the process of you jumping, you become ready, because a better version of you will catch you if you're willing to commit to it. So I started that, and within less than 6 months, April, that just passed by, I managed to walk out of my job and do my coaching full time now.
How does that feel?
It's been the best. Obviously, I left my job a little bit earlier. I told myself by the end of the year, I'm going to try make my coaching full time, and I left in April. It was a little bit prematurely, it was a little bit earlier than I anticipated, especially with the money and everything that I was making through my coaching. But that didn't stop me, because I always think about in terms of lifestyle. Like, why was I sacrificing how I felt now and my quality of life now for an unforeseeable time in the future where everything might line up and it'll be the perfect time for me to make the move? I already had everything I needed at that exact moment. I had myself, and I always backed myself, right? Even when I started my coaching, I wasn't ready. I never spoken on camera before, but I jumped head in. 6 months later, I felt good momentum building up. Then again, with the momentum and that good momentum, I'm like, screw it. Something inside of me told me to just go all in. Just like that, something inside of me told me to pursue my coaching back when I did in October. I didn't know why. It was my inner conscious just telling me to step up, just to listen to that inner voice. Because everyone at the end of the day knows what they've got to do. They've got that inner voice inside of them that tells them right from wrong, that tells them which way they should go in life.
Hey, this is Amber McCrae with Connection Over Perfection. Check out my podcast as well as many others at the Podcast Connection Network. We are all about mental health and holistic wellness. The link is in the episode description. Enjoy the show.
Like, drop the drink, head into the gym, leave that toxic relationship, leave that shitty friendship group that just gossips about people behind their back. Like, live that shitty life and do better. Everyone has that voice inside of them, but people never listen to it. That's what fucks them up.
What's support, let's say, from your mom, friend groups and whatnot? And the reason I'm asking this is because I'm in this situation where I have a master's degree in healthcare administration. And of course, I did healthcare for 12 years, and now I'm a podcaster. My mission is still to help people. I still have a love for people, but this provides me a larger reach than the two clinics I managed. And so I can reach more people. But my wife sometimes, my mother, there's other people that will chirp in that ear and go, man, you got a master's in healthcare administration. Why aren't you back in the hospital? And so I'm sure, like you have a civil engineering degree, and it's like, oh, I want to do this. So what's, because that can be kind of a struggle, because I'm sure you love your mom the way I love my mom and my wife, and you don't want to disappoint, and you kind of want to please, and you want to make them proud. But then you as a man, like you said, you have that inner guidance, that inner voice of what you're called to do. And when you're headed in the right direction, the doors kind of open up a little bit and you start to gain that momentum, and it reassures you you're on the right direction. But how's the support? And if there's any criticism about it, how do you deal with it? And then I think I know your answer, but how do you justify it in your head, that having the degree and then pursuing something totally different?
Yeah, I understand what you mean though. There can be sometimes outside factors, especially a loved one, that might not be aligned with the vision that you see. But I always tell people, you see your vision for a damn good reason. So never even let even someone as close and beloved as you, as your own family member, shift you away from what you see being possible for your own self. Because God, the universe, the greater power, whatever you want to call it, gives you a vision for a reason. You wake up in the morning chasing that thing for a damn good reason. The reason why a lot of people don't end up manifesting that dream life is because they quit too early and they let things outside of their influence and control influence and dictate them. For me, I've been lucky. Like, my mom understands what my passion is and whatnot, and she always supports me and whatnot. So I've been lucky in that realm. And even if she didn't, it wouldn't change a thing, because I know me. At the end of the day, I got me, and as long as you've got you, that's all you really need.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting perspective. I resonate kind of like with what you said, and I can tell my passion is there, because there's times where I remember scheduling an interview or something, or when I match with somebody and I go through their thing and I'm excited to interview them. I can be, trying to spend an hour with my wife watching Survivor or something, and here I am watching Survivor, but I'm actually thinking of interview questions that I want to ask this person. And so I'm sitting there like, well, that must be my passion. I must be obsessed with it, because it's all I think about. Even if I'm watching TV, I'm really not there. I'm constantly kind of thinking about this stuff. What's one of the kind of main takeaways, especially in the past 5 years since 2019? What's one of the biggest concepts that you've learned in this transformational process?
Sometimes the way we view ourselves is going to be how other people view us as well. As harsh as that sounds, how you literally feel about yourself is how the world views you as well. So if you wake up in the morning and you're not happy with how you look, you might have a bit of a belly and whatnot. You might have a bit of a double chin, but you don't think anyone notices. That aura that you give, that energy of you not being content, of you not being happy with who you are, that rubs off on the world, and people notice that. People can tell there's something, that energy is off. The best you can do is look yourself in the mirror, be honest, right? Because self-mastery requires self-honesty, and love hate lies. A lot of people will lie to people's faces to make them feel better, but they don't even realize what they're doing. They're lying to someone in this exact moment for them to feel better. But down the track, overall, their whole life, that person won't do anything because they're told they're okay where they're at. and all that stuff, instead of being harsher in the now, being upfront in the now, being brutal in the now if they have to. So that person can have internal reflection and see the things they need to change so they can live a better life. Love and lives. Stop lying to your people. Stop lying to yourself. You see your vision, but if you don't align your thoughts, your actions, and your overall energy to be aligned with that vision, nothing's going to happen. You can't just magically sit there and think your dream life is going to come to you, but you just do nothing about it. It's a tough world. It's a hard world. It's a competitive world, right?
Mhm.
You got to be the best you, and you got to throw everything every single day to be the best version of you can. Because if you don't, the next guy will do it, right? So look yourself in the mirror, be honest, and just know that if you want your world to change, you need to change, because the world is not as it is. The world is as we are, right? And the better we feel about ourselves, the better the world around us is. So the problem is never external, the problem is internal. But you have power over that. And you do get a choice. So every time you wake up in the morning, choose what's right, choose what's good for you. And as a result, as you become better, the people around you become better as well.
Have you always been this optimistic and, let's say, pumped up, or did that kind of come along as the transformation started happening? Because I know that kind of happens with a lot of people. Because I have, there's this theory I always like to explore that hurt hurt people, but healed people love to heal people. And then you see a lot of people who've embarked on a weight loss journey. Perhaps they go in there, get their personal training certification, and then their goal is to help other people accomplish what they did. And so I forgot my original question, but it was,
That's so I've always had that vision of how I wanted to be.
uh-huh,
I liked how fit and athletic people looked. People that were small, that were big, that were jacked, tan, tatted, all that. I liked how they looked. And that's the person I wanted to become, to build myself into a better version of me, really, right? And that's important. But that vision was always there, but that doesn't mean I always felt confident. I
right.
never, sometimes I had the doubts and everything, but as I started the journey, as you mentioned, that vision started to manifest in parts. So the more consistency you actually pursue, the more consistent you are, and the more results you actually get to see. That is when those beliefs and that vision gets concreted. And it's not just going to be a vision, because we've already accomplished, a lot of us have already accomplished a lot of the things that we actually started out, and a lot of the things that we actually said one day would make us happy,
Right.
right? We accomplished a lot of those things, but that doesn't mean we should be happy with where we're at and we should just not do anything. Keep pushing the next level. Never be satisfied with where you're at. Be proud. Always be proud of who you are in this exact moment and what you've overcome. And be proud, even more proud of the person you're becoming, but never stop chasing. Always keep chasing that person that you're going to be in 10 years' time. Always keep chasing. The results you get, the more confidence you build, and the more those beliefs get concreted. That's very important.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And that was kind of what I figured, because it's kind of like as an individual picks up that momentum, that confidence builds, and then at some point you end up kind of like the version you are now, where you have that motivation, those non-negotiables. You don't have to think twice because you've utilized enough discipline and strengthen your mind enough to know and believe this is who I am and this is what I'm going to do. No questions asked.
Align to that future version of you by having a blueprint in place every day that you just tackle every day,
Uh-huh.
and if you do that consistently, that will bring you to the place that you want to be one day. The blueprint is so easy. People just need to tackle it every day. And by having a simple plan they need to follow every day, that actually alleviates a lot of stress and anxiety, because anxiety can stem from the fear of the unknown, not showing what to do, not sure what to do every day, and not sure where your life is going to go. But by having a plan you follow every day, that can alleviate a lot of that stress and anxiety. And by tackling that every day, you know that one day, through consistency, through always showing up, through applying the non-negotiables that your coach or mentor has set, that one day you'll be the person that you want to be.
Now, do you utilize visualization and manifestation techniques? Because I know visualization in terms of sports, it's proven that, people practicing shooting baskets can have a level of improvement even if they didn't physically shoot them. And then, of course, the law of attraction, manifestation, believing in yourself, like you said, looking at that future self, identifying with it, identifying the feelings that are associated with that success. How important is that to you? And do you utilize it? And Do you have any specific techniques that you utilize to do it? Maybe a time of the morning, a meditation, or something like that?
I mean, that's very important, like you said. I've read a book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective Fit People,
Mm-hmm.
right? And one of the habits is begin with the end in mind. To figure out who you want to be, the person you want to live, and the life you want to live, and align your daily structure, your thoughts, and your actions, right? Your habits to be aligned with that vision, right? And just every day, I've got that life I'm going to live. More so than next level. I've always got a next level I chase. I've kind of got an overall plan of how I want my life to go, but more so I focus on the step in front of me. Because instead of you trying to climb up a whole staircase and getting lost in all that and maybe falling over, kind of know how the staircase is going to go to a degree. Nothing is ever perfect. Nothing always ever plays out the way you might think so. But as long as you focus on the next step in front of you, then you'll actually pursue that next step. So for me, I've always got the next vision. Like a few months ago, my next step was quitting my job, right? Doing coaching full time.
Mm-hmm.
Got to move quick. Next move, bang, sorted, quick. Next step. My next step now is getting a better apartment, elevate my lifestyle a little bit, get a ocean view apartment in Cronulla or something. That's the next one. So have an overall hierarchy of how I want my life to be, but I always focus on the next step and what's more feasible to where I'm at now. So you've got your short-term and your long-term goals, and that's what I always talk to my clients with. How do you want your life to be one day? And what's the short-term goal by the end of the year that you want to achieve? And I help work with them, my elite clients. So yeah.
Now, do you use mental visualization techniques? Do you journal? Do you do anything like that? I mean, I know writing goals is important. What are some techniques you use to employ that?
For me, I've always got my vision in the back of my head. I feel like everyone really shouldn't. But I believe reading and reflecting is a big thing. Like as I said before, Stoic philosophy, some of the books like this one, Meditations, Marcus Aurelius, that I tell all my clients, books like that will change your life because it change your perspective and your outlook on the world. So books like that, just read a couple books like that. I've got a list of books that I sent to all my clients. It's got minds. A lot of it is mindset and habits. And pretty much just knowing who you want to be and just having that in the back of your head every day and just that burning desire to be better every day. Because who knows what's going to happen? If dream future that you once had might just show up tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, when I started coaching, I always said in 2 years' time, I hope to do it full time. Not even 6 months later, here I am. In the next few months, I might be living down the beach somewhere. Who knows? That's what I mean. Like a lot of people put their dreams and their future so far away, but that is what's holding them back. They need to bring all that closer to where they're at so they can actually have the courage to step up and chase it. Instead of one day, it's day one. That's important.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, has there been one of the things I like to ask is when people go through a change, especially one that they kind of decide to choose, and maybe they were thrust into it unintentionally, but you make a choice, you take a leap of faith, and you go for it. And when you go for it, I always think there's a silver lining out there somewhere that somebody's like, what is one thing that you never thought in a million years would happen, but was really great and would have never happened had you not taken this step or made this journey or made that decision to change, invest in coaching, quit your job? Like, for example, I had a guy who's like, had he never started a business and done this thing, he would have never met his future wife. And that's the best thing that's ever happened to him. So have you had anything that's been unexpected, just awesome, that has happened as an unintended consequence of following your vision and your truth?
It's crazy how one moment like that can change your whole future. Like even me in South America, my parents split up, moved continents when I was 4 years old. I was meant to always be raised in South America, Brazil. They were doing the whole map of South America. They were traveling. They were on their second round. They were about to do another round of South America. And we're going to settle in Brazil. And I was meant to grow up as a Brazilian kid, right? Probably with a ball at my feet or something. But one moment like that can change your life. Another big one was when I decided to reach out to my mentor, Wes Watson, to do my online coaching with. I wasn't ready at the time. I didn't even know what I was going to be doing, but he had the life that I wanted. He was the man that I aspired to be. He was the epitome of what every man should aspire to be. Like a man is a leader, a protector, a provider. I stopped drinking. It's been over a year now since I touched alcohol and drugs. Initially, I stopped because I wanted to focus on fitness a little bit. But once I actually reached my goals more quicker than I thought possible, because I gave that lifestyle away, I ended up just quitting it for good. And seeing someone like Wes Watson, a man of his structure, like a really muscling man, preach sobriety and preach how good living a sober life is. The world needs more people like that, not people that are going to say, here, have a drink, go fuck up a little bit and live with those choices. People are going to be like, no, there's a proper way to live, not a proper way to live. Right? You're a man, you should be a protector, a leader, a provider. You should set the standard for the people around you and for your family. Right? You can't tell someone to do something that you're not preaching yourself. Right? So sobriety, leadership is a big thing. And me actually signing up with him at that time, I wasn't ready. I never even jumped in front of a camera before. I remember my first talking videos were horrible. It's taken me months to actually even get good. But the reason why I wanted to start in October last year was I knew it was going to take some time for me to build momentum to actually get good. So by the time 2024 came around, 1st of January 2024, I already had good momentum and good confidence. At the beginning of the new year, new me, let's fucking go. Consistency and momentum literally can take you places you never even thought possible.
Did you ever have any trouble quitting drinking, drugs, anything like that? Did you ever have any cravings afterwards, and how did you deal with them?
I believe it was quite a big journey of me doing that. Back in my party days when I was 21, whatever, I'd go out every weekend, just drugs the whole weekend. And you slowly get phased out a little bit to the stage before I quit, where I was going out maybe once a month, twice a month, drinking, doing cocaine, all that, recreational drugs, whatnot, but obviously not going too hard. But I was still living that lifestyle, because you can't walk two paths at once. You can't walk the fitness lifestyle and be a bodybuilder, which I want to be, and still go out drinking and doing all that stuff. You can't walk two paths at once. You got to choose. So I sat down. I'm like, I'm going to give everything I can and commit to the fitness. And I'm not going to give up the drinking yet, but I'm just want to focus on that. And then as I started to focus on the fitness, the path illuminated as I walked it, and doors started to open up. And the way I felt about myself was second level. And I'm like, why would I ever go back to that lifestyle now when this is literally the way to go? And that's what I do for all my people too. I'm like, drop the drink, drop the drugs, hit the gym consistently for at least 4 weeks, and then come back to me, see if you ever want to go back to that.
Do you ever have any clients who reach out to you, like when they have some cravings or a tough time, and how do you coach them through it?
I'll just say, like, what would you want your kid? What would you want your children to do? That's a big thing. Like, I always strive to be the best version of me for my future family one day, right? And you see a lot of like overweight dads and whatnot. Tell their kids to be healthy and whatnot and all this stuff, but they're not doing it themselves. It's like, do you want your kids to look like you? Like, do you want your kids to go to school overweight, fat, getting bullied because you didn't take the time to learn about proper nutrition? Because you go out to McDonald's every night and eat like garbage, just because they're a kid and they might walk around and be fit, doesn't mean it's not going to catch up to them, right? So by being a highly valued man and expecting the most out of you and raising the standard to a high level, your family will also operate at that level. So you've got to draw the line really, and just know that when it comes to yourself and your family, you've got to give everything you can to be the best you. So as a result, you can be the best you for your family and elevate everyone's standards.
And that kind of all goes back to, mindset of making up your mind first, kind of something you said in the beginning, seeing it first there and bringing it in, because I haven't drank in almost a year. 10 days will be a year. So, and I don't really crave it and I try not to identify with it, but every once in a while you get a craving and be like, oh, but like I said, you don't want to identify with that person because that person was 40 pounds ago and his life was a wreck. I can assure you. Did not have the best relationships. Is there anything that you left out that you want the audience to know that you want to discuss?
I just think every single person out there, no matter how bad it's got, everything is always salvageable. No matter how low you think you are in life, it's always salvageable. It's always manageable, right? Just because you might think you're at rock bottom doesn't mean it's not the end. It might take years of you getting out of that hole for you to even see the light, but just staying there because you can get through it. And you've already got everything you need to live the best life. Again, you've got you.
Where can people find you? They want to reach out for coaching and
Instagram. I'm really big on Instagram. Rudi Garcia with a double A at the end. So RudiGarcia.
So you said half Greek and half what else? Colombian or
Half Italian.
half Italian?
Yeah.
I was curious with the name Garcia.
Yeah. South American.
Yeah. I'm the opposite. My mom's Mexican, but She married a white man. My last name was Kraft.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I identify more as Latino, but I have the white name. Do you have any questions for me before we hop off?
How long have you, so obviously you're big on personal development. Are you big on reading as well? Are you big on working out? You mentioned sobriety. That's for
Yes.
anyone who lived that old life away and turn it around and decide to be sober. Hats off to you. Like that's a really big thing that a lot of people can't do. Like I might still go out with mates, I'll be drinking or whatever. I validate myself more by saying no to something for so long that other people can't do. So validate yourself through being able to stand your ground, and say, fuck that, I don't need that shit. You guys do that. I'm good. I'm going to get up in the morning at 4 a.m. and fucking smash a workout. Well, you motherfuckers are sleeping in, and we'll see who's winning. Right. So just because other people around you might be doing that doesn't mean nothing. Right. You're choosing to live a better life. So you should validate yourself through that. It's better saying no than saying yes. That's what discipline comes in. It
Yeah.
takes a lot.
Mine's been about it was about 3 years, and I would say about last summer. June 22nd was my birthday. I had two margaritas, didn't catch a buzz, started the downward not feeling good, the little bit of depression within an hour and a half or 2 hours after the drinks. And I was just like, no more. And my life had been kind of out of control from a layoff and drinking and drugging and horrible relationships. And I was on antidepressants and a few other things that were kind of all combined. And they didn't make me feel great. They made me numb. And at some point, I just said, no more of all of it. Stopped the drinking. Once I stopped the drinking, got off the antidepressants, then started walking and started the podcast kind of about the same time. And so my beginning episodes are, it's like a journal where you're following my progress. I just said my word for the year was going to be consistency. Instead of a New Year's resolution, consistency. And so I had made some progress. And then I would say in January of this year, I got some support through the Podcast Connection Network, which kind of validated a little bit of what I was doing with the podcast and started building momentum. And then I would say I had a big leap between January and March. And then between March and now, the little growth spurts, whether it be through the podcast, fitness, whatever, they're like these little exponential kind of growth things that it seems like it's happened so fast, but so slow all at the same time. So, I mean, to give you an idea, I'm down. I was originally 213 pounds. I'm at 165. I was on 9 prescriptions. I'm on 2 prescriptions, one for blood pressure and one for asthma, growing up with asthma. So, reading, journaling, podcasting, helping others, getting people's messages out there, letting other people know they're not alone, giving them resources, hearing other people's stories, hearing other people's struggles, how they got through it. Your thing, like why is a coach important? Why do people hesitate to possibly get that mentor? Because so many people have mentors. And so right now I'm kind of in another growth phase where, I've bumped up the podcast starting in May to 2 releases a week, which means more editing and stuff. That's a push for me, but still exercising. And I'm at that point where I feel like I'm split a little bit between two paths and kind of what you said about got to focus on one. And I had another interview the other day with a fitness expert as well, a coach, and it made me question, like, yes, I've made some pretty big results, but I still don't know that I'm all in. And if you want all in results, you got to have an all in mindset. And kind of when I interviewed him and I interview you and I see that all in mindset and that no turning back. And that's why I kind of asked, like, where did you get it? Does it come, as you build that momentum and then that mindset gets stronger? And then all of a sudden it's not even a question of, I shouldn't have to ask myself if I'm all in, if I'm dividing between two paths. I mean, I know I am, but I know where I want to go. And I know that division, either it's taking you towards your goals or away from your goals, whether it be what time you wake up, whether it be what you decide to put in your body, no matter what. It's either getting you closer to the person you want to be or further away from the person you want to be. And
You're
I've
making a decision every day, and a lot of people, the reason why they maybe half-us do something and they're not fully committed is because they want to use the excuse. If they fail because they don't think deep down internally, they can pull it off. If they fail, they can just say, "Oh, I wasn't even trying anyway," because they're scared to fully commit because they don't see themselves being able to do that. And that's why coaching, mentorship is so important because your coach, like even myself, I always view everyone as a person they can become. Because even me one day, like I remember years ago, I still got photos of me how I looked. Overweight, not overweight, but I was skinny fat, right?
right.
The way you think when you see a photo of me now, that could be the same person. So once you actually break through that cycle yourself and you know what's possible with yourself, you know that's possible with other people too. So you might look at someone, skinny fat or whatever, and in 7 weeks, the transformation is crazy. Like one of my boy, Jack, in 7 weeks, he just got absolutely diced up. And something like that, a physical transformation like that, changes your whole life, changes your whole trajectory of your life because you're like, well, I can do that in 7 fucking weeks. I can imagine a lifetime of this stuff. Like, imagine if I just show up, follow plan, and keep elevating myself. Like, the possibilities are infinite. Like, who knows what's going to happen one day? And that desire to want to do better gets addictive once you actually start to see the results and once you actually get a transformation. That just blows your mind and you never thought possible.
And that's what I love about it. That's kind of the exciting part. And but it all goes back to, you know, kind of one of these overarching themes of many of the episodes and many of the guests I interview is, this mindset component, how strong your mind is and how important it is. Kind of like you said, when I asked, what would you say to a client who's struggling? I mean, it's the same way for yourself is, if you wouldn't talk shit to another person, then don't talk shit to yourself because then you're going to believe it. Don't put yourself down. You make a mistake and you move on and correct it and get better. But, I think it's okay.
That being said, I do believe there's a fine line between being hard on yourself and not being hard enough on yourself. Is there literally
Right.
a fine because you can't let yourself off the hook every single time. If you
That's right.
slip in, you're like, fuck, like, I'm a bitch, like, I can't be doing that shit. Talk to yourself better because when you actually drop your standard of where you should be elevating, don't let that shit slide because if you keep letting yourself off the hook without knowing, eventually that standard will drop. You never want to hold yourself accountable, right? But at the same time, talk to yourself like you are motherfucking it and no one can tell you otherwise. Right? That's very important. That's very important. There's a fine line between the two that you've got to exercise every single day, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was.
That's kind of what I was thinking about when I was saying that is like you do have to, you know, you can't let yourself be a bitch. Um, and you have to draw the line somewhere. Otherwise, discipline means jack shit all, and so I definitely agree with that. But last question, why do you highlight the importance of starting now?
There's never going to be a perfect time, right? You're never going to be ready. Like nothing will ever. Too many people wait for an unforeseeable time in the future where everything will line up perfectly and everything they want will open up and all these bullshit. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The perfect time is now. The perfect time was yesterday. You already fucking slept on that. So the perfect time is now, motherfucker. Shut up, fucking do it. Because the version of you that's out there is only going to become that person once you actually make it possible. Right? The price you pay for procrastination is a life you could have lived. Don't sleep on your potential. Hire a coach, hire a mentor that sees your own potential because they've elevated other people the same way they can elevate you so they know what's fucking possible. Just because you don't think it's possible doesn't mean it's not possible. It is possible. Show up, do it, and get it done.
Yeah, and I can speak to that because I know in my podcast journey, I had somebody see something in me and that kind of blew wind into my sails and allowed me to blossom and kind of make that growth between January and now. And it's just been wild. And so, whether it's having a mentor, a supporter, a coach, I definitely can see the benefit because they can
Become
help
ready.
you see that future version of yourself.
Therefore, you become ready in the process. Like I said before, jump and a better version of you will catch you. So you're never going to be ready for the next level. I wasn't ready when I started coaching. I wasn't ready when I left my job, but you become ready through the process. And even my next level, I'm not going to be anywhere near ready for that. But the exciting thing is knowing you're not ready, but you do it anyway, and fuck it, you'll make it work out because you are the person who, it's not the how, it's the who, it's the person who can make it fucking possible because you've got a proven track record of showing up every day and getting it fucking done. That's why I'll go back to your daily non-negotiables. Once you actually have a proven track record, concreted mindset that you show up every day and you do the shit you don't want to do. So when something actually difficult, real life adversity comes in, you've already got a track record of doing self-inflicted adversity through your non-negotiables, and you're already that man that can fucking tackle it head first and get it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Rudi, it's been awesome connecting with you. Finally, had a few back and forths, but I appreciate you taking your time, and I feel definitely motivated, and I feel like I got something from this, which is very pleasing to me. I always enjoy that's why I always say I don't like to know too much about a guest before because I like to have the same enthusiasm as a first time listener and get that information. But I think there was a lot of great stuff in there, and I look forward to sharing this to the listeners.
Thank you for everyone for listening, and let's show up and get it.
Well, that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. Remember, go out and be the person that you want to meet.
Let go.